amazing people. Our first guest tonight's show that I want to welcome, okay, she had made a name for herself, not only in Philadelphia, but Asbury Park and then New York City. And really, we had all heard of her. And then suddenly, the nation heard about her because she went to the impeachment trials in drag. Okay, she was covering for a platform called HAPS, and she was there on all of our behalf, and it brought us joy to see her there on Capitol Hill going to the impeachment trials and being a voice of sanity and a representative of all of us in the LGBTQ AILMNOP group. And so we're thrilled and delighted that she was there. And she is none other than Pissi Myles. Pissi, welcome to our show.
Hello, kids. Hello, Frank. How are you doing? I'm very
Good.
excited to be here.
You look gorge. Look at you. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for we'll get to it later. But for you, what you did by going to the impeachment hearings was we were blown away and we loved it. But we'd heard of you before, and then the whole world heard of you. So I want to know what that's all about, and we'll talk about that later on as well. I want to also welcome to our show someone that you know from season 11 of Drag Race, really one of the fan favorites. People just adored her, and she is none other than Miss Shuga Cain. Shuga Cain, welcome to our show.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun today.
Oh, your fall looks delicious. Look at you.
Thank you.
And it's only spring. I just gorgeous. So thank you for being with us. And you, I have to ask how you get, later on, we're going to get to how can you be a triathlete and a baker? I want to know together for all of us who are getting fat in quarantine. Also, our third guest tonight, someone we've all admired for a long time. Okay, she started doing drag at a very young age, very precocious, and we're delighted. Really, first a bright light in Portland, then Seattle, and everywhere. And of course, she not only was on the 5th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, she won the 5th season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Jinkx Monsoon, the old vaudevillian, welcome to our show. How are you, darling?
I'm good. I'm getting better with every toke of this joint that I take.
Hey, we're all getting through it whatever way we can get through it. You look just gorgeous. So I'm thrilled that you're able to be here with us.
Can't say anything about it anyway.
Well, I want to get started. We've got questions from our audience. We've got questions from me, and I do want to, chat with each of you about your careers and specific things with that. But the one thing everyone really wants to know first, and Pissi, I'll start with you. How are you spending your quarantine? Where and how? What's doing with you?
I have been spending my quarantine doing very important work. I got an air fryer. Have you ever used it? It is, this is a gift from God, I think. I have made chicken nuggets. I have made chicken fingers. Any part of a chicken I have made in my air fryer. And that has been basically the last 2 months for me.
How many loaves of banana bread so far? That's the question everyone seems to want to know. We're measuring life in banana bread.
I'll tell you, I have not made one fucking loaf of banana bread because I literally live above a grocery store here in New Jersey. Thank you very much. And you go in and there's toilet paper, there's paper towels, and there is no sugar or flour. And I'm like, this says a lot that I moved to a town with a bunch of other fat asses that all they were worried about was the sugar and the flour. I was like, well played, New Jersey.
I'm glad you're in my home state because, I'm originally from New Jersey, too. And I grew up not 5 minutes from where you went to university at Montclair State. We were very close there. So.
My alma mater. God, I love.
So I can ask Shuga, how does one do both being a triathlete and a baker? And has that played into your quarantine experience?
Well, it's been a while since I've competed in triathletes. So right now, I'm lucky if I get in a walk to the Walmart on the corner. I'm quarantined in Arizona right now, so it's very hot here. I still bake. I'm baking, eating everything in sight. I'm glad to say that I don't have COVID-19, but I've gained the COVID-20. So I'll be serving you back rolls when we come back.
I'm happy that I can actually button my shirt all the way down, because last week I did the show, and when it's got to midriff, that was the last button that worked. And I wanted to wear it because it had sequins on the collar, and I was wed to the idea. But if anyone had seen from tits down, it was all stomach. It was a problem, I have to say. So, but it's one cake, I'm telling you, a cake, and then you're like, I could make mac and cheese with little turkey meatballs in it, and then you get kind of crazy. So,
and I have amazing friends who know my love of sweets, and so they continue to send me care packages. I love them, but fucking stop. I have candy, Danish rolls, like everything under the sun. I can't stop eating it, girl. Like, I love y'all, but I need to start eating some lettuce or some shit.
Oh, yeah. I've had 3 salads since the COVID quarantine started. I have. That's in 8 weeks. Right? I've had 3 salads in 8 weeks. But
it's the best we can do.
So now, Jinkx, where are you quarantining, and what's going on in other than smoking that gorgeous joint in that cigarette holder?
I am in Portland, Oregon, which is where I was born and raised. And a couple years ago, I decided to buy a house here to motivate me to come back and visit family more. And I just moved in a couple months ago after a friend has been here decorating it and making it lovely. So it was all ready for me to move in. And then as soon as I did, I'm stuck here. So I've lived my life on the road for the last 7.5 years. And I've never spent this much time at home since I did Drag Race. And it's really bewildering, actually, to like be a human being doing human being things again.
Well, you start to realize, though, at least for me, that the expectations are down, and so suddenly you're like, I made lunch and I did a load of laundry. What more do you want? I'm done for the day. And answered 3 emails. That's it. But I assume you've been busy because you had a show an hour ago, didn't you?
Oh, it was just a little phone call with Trinity the Tuck Taylor. Trinity the Tuck. I gotta say, if your middle name is just the most destructive thing that you do to your penis, my middle name would be Jinkx I fucked Magnolia Crawford Monsoon. Anyway, no, I gotta tell you, you were talking about from the tits down. That has been the nicest thing about moving all my work to digital. Is like I'm literally wearing pants right now. I'm wearing socks in bed. I have never been so comfortable in drag. My organs are thanking the virus right now.
So I love that. And we are getting all used to it. I love that there was a guy, I don't know if he was on MSNBC or CNN or whatever, but it was like one of the correspondents was caught with, basically just boxers. And it's like, yeah, we've all kind of been there now. We know what that feels like. So I'm going to move through each of you and ask some questions, and we'll go around. Pissi, everyone wants to know, what the hell was it like going to the impeachment hearings and covering them?
The interesting thing about doing the impeachment hearings was I think people are more used to seeing people who look like me coming out of the offices of Congress than going in. So I was very surprised by the reaction when I got there. I went there thinking that like when I go to work, it's always like this. So I never feel out of place because I look like this all the time. And it wasn't until I got out of the car and there were like 50 cameras on the steps of the Longworth building. And literally every single one, I got out of my Uber and they all just went, woof, woof. And I was like, oh, this is unusual. I forgot that this is going to be unusual for people. So I have to say, everyone was very sweet. Even the Republican congressmen who didn't want to talk to me were very kind about saying they didn't want to talk to me. So I'll give it to everyone. They were very nice to me. And it was just crazy. It was a whirlwind.
It was, I don't know if you intended it to be inspiring, but it really was inspiring in this time that we find ourselves, even before the quarantine and all of this stuff, just the whole conservative tide, and every day another outrage. And there you are, looking fabulous and kind of standing in larger than life for all of us. And it was very inspiring to see you there. And we were all, it was like it was, our team was represented, and it felt really good. So thank you for doing that. Was it scary at all?
Well, thank you. I do appreciate you saying that, because that was a big part of what made me want to do it. I was invited down by HAPS, which is a live, it's sort of like a social media broadcasting network, and they invited me down to be like an entertainment contributor, but to reach younger people with something that was more accessible, like drag. And to me, it was like, well, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to entertain people, but I'm also going to be such a visible part of our community that I think is so important right now, to be there, to be a voice for not only gay and lesbian people, but also for people who are transgender, people of color in and out of the LGBTQIA community, and women and people who are so severely impacted by the effects of this administration. And it was it was a little bit intimidating walking into the Longworth building, but you kind of just, I've always thought of drag queens as being like the people who lead the battle charge. We're the ones who go out and stand up for everybody, and I think that's a really important part of drag that gets forgotten a lot these days, because people think of it as a form of entertainment, and it obviously is. We're all comedians and we're all funny, but another,
Well, let's not go that far.
Some of us.
some of us are very funny. But there's another part of it. There's a social aspect. The drag queens and the trans women have always been at the forefront of the LGBTQIA movement. And so I always think of this as like my battle armor. I'm going to put it on and I'm going to walk out there. And even if I'm afraid, I have this thing to kind of give me that charge to stand up and say, no, we're here and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. But I have to say, like I said, everyone was so kind. It was a little intimidating going through security. They told me, HAPS told me before I went in, they were like, they might need you to take off the wig. Is that possible? And I was like, I'll need a staple remover, but if you can get, we'll be able to do anything. But everyone was very kind. The picture of me going through security with no shoes and 4 chins was all over everything, including the New York Post. So everyone was very sweet, especially that security officer. I think I made his day.
Well, it really was just heaven. And honestly, when I talk to people in the gay community, I always say, you really owe the drag queens a big debt, and the trans women, of course, because who the hell was, really leading the charge? It was always people for whom there was no closet big enough for them to fit in, for us to fit in. So I always do that. And I always tell people when I do a talk, if there are young people in the audience, I say, if you meet a guy and he's really cute, but he says he doesn't like drag, I said, you can fuck him, but you can't marry him. I said, you don't marry someone who doesn't like drag. It's like, no way. So that's not a husband. A husband likes drag. Husband's like, oh, you look gorgeous. Come here. So yeah, no, I really, I tip my wig to you for doing that. And it's gotta, what did your family say? Were they all giddy over it, or what did they think when it got such media coverage?
They were very, very sweet about it. I'm one of 5 kids, so I have 4 siblings, and of the 5 of us, 4 of us are gay. So yeah, it's a crazy family. But
I did a virtual pearl clutch right there. It was inside I did that.
Yeah, so we all kind of, we had a huge, because my sister knew I was going to do it. She and her wife, I had talked to the night before and told them I was going to do it. But my brothers, I don't think they knew. I don't think I had told them. So it was kind of surprising for them when they saw what was happening. And I called my dad on the way home that night, because my dad has always been a very conservative person, but I love him to death, and he's actually been very supportive of all of his gay kids. But I called him that night and I was like, so did you happen to see? And he was like, yeah, I think it's crazy, it's so cool. And I was like, who is this person that I'm talking to right now? and he was very supportive and very loving about it. So I wish if I could, I would tip my wig to my father.
I tell you, dads really, they just when you think you got them pegged, they do something that you just like, oh, you big lug, I love you to pieces. Yeah, they say that one thing, and you're like, yeah, I love you. I wasn't gonna, now I gotta, because you're fantastic. So I'm glad to hear that you've got that going on. Now, Shuga Cain, I want to ask you, what was it like being every story I've read has talked about Shuga Cain gave up a high-paying job for drag. What was that a scary thing? If we're going to talk about it, what was a scary thing? Was that scary?
Yes, girl, that was scary. It's more scarier now, especially now that we're not working. But yeah, it was really, really scary. I mean, look, I'm older. I'm in my 40s, and I mean, I've always wanted to sing. I went to school for music. I have a master's degree in opera. So performing is always something I wanted to do, and I have student loan debt. I'm old. I've got grown-up bills. So for me, it was, I was working to support just the life and paying your bills and stuff. And so I think I finally hit a road or like a fork in the road where I was like, I'm either going to commit or not do it. And so I decided to I was smart about it. I saved my money and I made sure I had enough gigs to support myself in New York City. At the bare minimum, because I wasn't making six figures as a drag queen. So yeah, it was scary, but at some point in your life, you just gotta jump in, all in. So I was lucky.
How long have you been doing drag when you got the gig of doing RuPaul's Drag Race?
Like a year and 9 months.
Ah!
I mean, yeah, a year and 9 months, and it's crazy. I'm like super grateful, and I think a lot of people who don't know me, and a lot of girls who didn't know anything about me were like, a year and 9 months. How in the hell did you do that shit? Like it's not real. But like the people that do know me know that like I've been performing my entire life. It's 20 plus years of singing, dancing, going to school, like being trained. And then doing musical theater, touring with Disney, like I paid my dues. So like drag was just another way of expressing all of the skill set that I've been honing for many, many, many years. And so it was just like, it was so beautiful to finally be like, I never in a million years would have thought like drag would have been the outlet for everything. And it was such a beautiful discovery for me. So yeah, that's crazy.
Beautiful for all of us. I have to say, we've all enjoyed you so much. I love one of the stories I read about you. One of your coworkers basically said, look, you might do office administration, but there is so much more to you. And we've gotten to see that certainly via television and so many, and live performances and so many other things that you've done. So, but it's still, I imagine though, it's still, taking that leap for anybody when you decide I'm going to perform full-time drag, no drag, whatever. It's got to be you got to,
I mean, yeah, you have to
feel balls to go and do it and say, yep.
You do. You have to believe in yourself too. Like, and it goes with anything, I think. So, I mean, especially now during this whole pandemic thing, it's very, very scary. And like, I go through periods where I'm thinking, oh my God, did I make the wrong choice? And like, now I'm not working. Like, things are changing and things are going to be different. So how am I going to step like outside of that and continue to do this? And so I think it's always kind of like, for me, it's always been like a back and forth. But I think one of the things that is like really helping, especially during this pandemic, is like, if you look around, like everyone is finding solace within the arts. Like we're turning to Netflix, we're turning to music, we're turning to all of these things that really inspire us and kind of take us out from, what is happening. And so I think for the artists out there who are struggling, who don't know what to do, that is a reminder that you are in the right space, that you should keep pursuing your dreams, keep pushing forward. I mean, because we are just as important as someone who's developing products, someone who's doing finance. Like everyone is looking to us to help them get through this. So, that's another kind of just affirmation that, I'm doing the right thing. It may be rocky, but it's gonna be okay.
I know. I feel like I can't sew a mask, I can't carry boxes and stuff, but I can make mirth and I can sort of,
Yes,
try and lighten people's spirits. So it's very much post a funny thing, do it anything,
absolutely.
do this show, do whatever you can to try and make people smile. And I feel like, if you can do that, then you've actually accomplished something that day other than make macaroni and cheese and banana bread. But I also want to tell people, and we would love it if you're able to do this, if you could Venmo a virtual cover to Big Wigs Live, we would love it so very much. We'll split it with the cast and the crew, and you'll make all of our lives just a little bit brighter. If you can't, obviously, we understand. Look, we're all in the same financial boat these days. But if you can,
Right.
we would love it if you would donate it. I read on the screen that it said suggested donation is $10. If you can do that, do it. Whatever you can do, please do it. We'd love it a lot. And it'll keep Big Wigs Live going, which is always, it's very fun for me, fun for the girls, fun for the art form. If I learned anything in writing this book, it was that the art form of drag really hadn't been, despite all the mainstream attention now, it hadn't been given the attention and respect that it really deserved. That the artistry of it had kind of gotten pushed off to the side because it was LGBT. And that was, so let's put it over here. And so we're trying to realize, and everyone is coming around, realizing that drag is for all of us and all forms of drag are valid. And as long as when that curtain opens, you look as fabulous as, say, Jinkx Monsoon, then you're in good shape and you're doing really, really well. Jinkx, what the heck was it like at 16 doing those all ages shows? Because you started drag really early, didn't you?
Yeah, I started doing drag around age 15. And by 16, I was, in drag every single weekend at this all ages LGBTQ plus dance club back in the day. It was called the Escape Nightclub. And I won a pageant there. So I got to perform very often and I had to make appearances every weekend, and I took it all very seriously. And then by 17 and 18, I was performing in the bars because some of the bars had, special rules where 18-year-olds could perform as long as they weren't on the floor with the alcohol. I don't know. It was all very shady. I don't know if I was supposed to be in those bars at that age or anything, but I've been, performing every weekend in drag basically since I was 15 years old. And it's just always felt like something I had to incorporate into my life. And, it's always just been crucial to my survival as a human being, I guess. And there was a time when I was pursuing an acting career where I thought I was going to have to give up drag. I thought people wouldn't take me seriously as an actor if they only thought of me as a drag queen. But what I found immediately after having that thought was all the roles I was getting in theater were me playing female roles or playing drag roles or gender bending roles or the occasional 9-year-old boy. And I realized, which was still very much drag. So I realized there's no reason why I can't be an actor who is also a drag queen or a drag queen who has a serious, love of acting. And I've always just been able to find a balance between doing theater and cabaret as a drag queen and just popping back and forth where I'm needed.
I was going to say, you've played really iconic roles too, because you did Angel in Rent, you've done Hedwig in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and then this was the one I loved. You were Velma Von Tussle in Hairspray?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the Angel in Rent is a funny story because I got the call about getting the role of Angel a week before I got the call from Drag Race. And they were overlapping where if I were to go to Drag Race and be on the entire time, I'd miss a couple weeks of rehearsal, which was a big no-no for this theater company in Seattle. And I parlayed a deal where I said, if you let me go film this reality TV show and we start working together, it'll help us all in the long run if I go do this thing and then your thing. So while I was filming Drag Race, I was rehearsing Rent in all of my downtime. And then when I finished filming Drag Race with all of that tucked away in my head and not allowed to talk about it, I jumped immediately into rehearsals for Rent, which I was kind of thankful for because it was a huge distraction from, you know, going over everything that had happened in my head like Virgos do. And so I do Rent, and Drag Race happens. And then immediately after my season aired, the same theater asked me to play Velma Von Tussle in the 10-year anniversary of the first production of Hairspray, which was in that theater in Seattle. So it all just kind of worked together. It all kind of fed each other. And I got to play Velma, which was my dream role. And I wore the original costumes that the first Velma wore, because I was, you know, much thinner then.
And did you get to sing Miss Baltimore Crab?
Oh, I sang Miss Baltimore Crabs, like, you know, the whole show was just about me singing Miss Baltimore Crabs. Everything else was the prologue, and everything after was the denouement.
Always the best way to look at it. Definitely. I think that's definitely have to do that. So now I want, Pissi, let me ask you a question. You were in Wigstock 2.0. Which was the reincarnation of an outdoor event for people who know. This is what I'll tell you. I moved to New York in '88, and I started going that summer to Wigstock and went every year. And you know when people say, "What was it really as great as they say?" Yes, it really was as great as they say. But I didn't get to go to Wigstock 2.0 because I was out in LA. What was it like being part of that?
It was so thrilling because I got to work with a lot of really amazing people who I have looked up to for so long, and so many of them have become friends, and so many of them I was meeting for the first time. And so when Bunny called me, which is still a funny phrase to say, but I'm sure you all know Lady Bunny is crazy as
terrifying when she calls you at 5 a.m. and you don't know where the hell she is and what state of mind she's in.
Girl,
and you're like, I just don't have the energy for Bunny right now.
she's always mumbling some kind of buffoonery to you in the middle of the night. I'm just like, I just decline.
Yeah. I was talking to Peaches Price once, and we were talking about Bunny and how much we love her. But Peaches was telling me a story. She was like, yeah, I'll never forget the first time I got a phone call from Bunny, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. And she was like, I answered the phone, and she was just making like strange sounds. And so she was like, hello, Bunny? And then Bunny just kept making sounds. So she was like, click, and just like hung up the phone. And I was like, Peaches, what if she was like getting mugged in an alleyway? She was like, well, she seems fine now. And it's true. There's nothing more scary than when your phone rings and it says Lady Bunny. But having said that, she is such a great person, and she, especially after the impeachment, she and I talk a lot about politics and things like that because we're both very progressive and politically minded. So it's always funny when she calls me. I'm like, do I have an hour right now to do this? I love it.
Especially if you're going to talk about politics, because I think what a lot of people don't know is that Bunny is like really intelligent and knows a lot about politics. And if you even mention anything about it, get ready, girl, because you're going to sit there for like a couple of hours and you're going to hear everything. But it's like, it's incredible, like to hear, you know, her take on what's happening in the political realm. A lot of people don't know that.
She's a lot more than just giving Hummers at the Port Authority bus station. She's a lot more than that.
That's what I was going to say.
You want to be scared? She and I did the audiobook version of my drag book. She's all of the drag parts, and I'm all the me parts in the book. So Bunny has been immortalized for You can spend 6 hours in a car with Lady Bunny if you dare by getting the Audible version of this book. So, and it's hilarious to me. And what an honor, because she is one of the funniest, especially when she's sparring with another queen. For me, it's when she and Flotilla go head to head. She and Flotilla DeBarge. That's my favorite thing, is to watch them go at each other. And yeah, it's pretty amazing to see to get to rub elbows with all of those folks. And I would assume doing drag and doing the show and things, you get to rub elbows. And I'm dying to know, Shuga, after doing such a terrific job as Charo on Snatch Game, have you rubbed elbows with the real Charo?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so incredibly honored and completely gagged to say that she is a friend, and a friend that I'll have for the rest of my days. She's incredible. I go to her house. I go to Charo's house, and we eat and we hang out. We shoot videos. We chat. I've hung out with her sister. It is, when I go to her house, it's so weird. When I go to her house, when I go to Charo's house, it feels like I'm going home. It feels like I'm at home with family. It is fucking insane. And I could just say, the way you see her on any kind of film or any kind of thing is like times 20 when you're home with her. And like, she's completely insane, so funny, and just a complete just loving joy. It's crazy.
And her sister sounds exactly like her, right?
They're the same. The two of them together,
Yes.
It's like a tornado. It's like they're both in the house, like out of control. And when I go there, I've never laughed more in my life than when I'm in her house with them too. Like, it's buffoonery. It's amazing. It's so crazy.
She gave a record release party, and I'm bad about RSVPing and keeping a date book and anything that's, when I got the invite to a record release party at Charo's house, I have never RSVP'd so fast as I did that day. It was like, the email was still warm when I RSVP'd. And it was like, we're going to Charo's house. So, but I can't say we're friendly when we see each other at something. But the idea that you go hang out with, she doesn't disappoint. Yeah. And she's the most, as you can attest, she is the most Charo person you've ever met. Yeah. She's brilliant. She's hilarious. She's so smart and witty. And it's like, her house is beautiful. It's like this gorgeous Spanish house, but it's kind of like a time capsule of like the 70s. But then she has these gorgeous rooms. I mean, girl, like some of these rooms, she was like, oh, I brought this from Spain. It was literally like a room. Like it is beautiful. Like, it's so fun. And like, yeah, her whole entire family is just a complete joy. I never know. Her son. Gorgeous. Woof. Woof. Girl, let me tell you this. When I first went to go to Charo's house, it was out of a movie. I show up in my Uber, and I meet her manager, and he puts in the number. The gates open, and there is her stunning, beautiful son, like tall and gorgeous, a bouquet of flowers for me. And then he grabs me by the arm and just starts walking with me to the front. And we were just chatting. I was like, what is happening? He was so charming, so sweet. We're like walking arm in arm. We go to the front door. The door opens. There's her assistant. We walk in, and here comes Charo down the steps of her thing. I'm literally like, girl, it was such a production. But it was, I could not expect anything less. It was so adorable and so sweet. Yeah, her family is incredible. So cute. Jinkx, what is the most surreal moment for you since winning Drag Race? Who have you come in contact with, or what experience has blown your mind?
Well, I'm not one to drop names like Shuga just did for 10 minutes. No, I'm just No, I'm still reeling from Shuga talking about Charo. That's just, Charo was you guys.
It's crazy. We grew up watching her. I grew up watching her. My parents idolized her. It is so insane. Yeah.
For me, I always like to say the biggest moments for meeting celebrities in my lifetime have been the moments where I thought I was going to faint. because I did Watch What Happens Live with, Bravo. What's his name? Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg was on one of the ones I did. And when I was looking at the back of her head, standing at that bar 5 feet away from her, I'm just looking at the back of her head, and I thought I was going to pass out because it was Whoopi Goldberg sitting there. And then I didn't have an experience like that again until, and this is my favorite fucking story. It's so ridiculous. And this is the most surreal. I'm in a bar in Ireland on tour. We are at this drag show as an after party that was thrown for the Rue Girls on tour. I'm in this tiny little dressing room, just this brightly lit tiny little dressing room in this old bar in Ireland. And it's all these queens and, all my tour sisters just mingling about. And my assistant turns to me and says, "Oh my God, you're going to need to stay calm. You're going to need to be cool and just don't freak out, but turn around." And I turn around and I look down and I'm standing in front of Kristen Chenoweth. And I almost pass out. And it just blew my mind. I mean, for me, the people that I've been lip syncing to since I started drag, when I meet them in real life, it blows my freaking mind. It makes me think like, this isn't even supposed to be possible that I could meet, Christine Ebersol or Kristen Chenoweth or Devin Green, who I've been lip syncing to for years and is now one of my good friends. So anyway, I had a lovely chat with Kristen Chenoweth. I tried my best to stay conscious the entire time. And she says to me, "Jinkx, I've watched some of your YouTube videos. And I have to say that your singing is a gift, and you have to protect your instrument and protect your gift." And I hate it when singers call their voice their instrument or call it their gift or act all like holier than thou about the ability to sing. But when Kristen Chenoweth said that to me, I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "I will protect my gift, Kristen." Protect this instrument. Thank you, Kristen. Yes.
Jinkx, when you were doing the vaudevillians in New York, did folks like that sneak in and to the audience?
Oh, yeah. It was always, I didn't like to know until afterward, but it was always so ridiculous. Like the Neil Patrick Harris came with John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen, like he was going and seeing drag shows. And then we chatted afterward and he asked me like how to tuck his junk and what to do about eyebrows. And I told him to just shave them off, Chelsea Clinton came once. That blew my mind. I've, become friends with Jesse Tyler Ferguson through doing my shows in New York. New York, like it freaks my shit when I perform there because it's just so commonplace for, the original Joanna from Sweeney Todd to just walk into your show for some reason.
So, yeah, New York is particularly good for that. And LA is good if you know where to go. If you want to see like 70s sitcom people, you can go and find them at lunch and be like, "Oh my God, that's, he used to sit at the bar on Alice," and you'd go and he'd be right there. So yeah, it's kind of amazing for that. Now, Pissi, we asked you, I would assume going to the impeachment hearings was one of the most surreal moments. What was one of the most surreal moments in terms of real uplifter on the other end?
How do you mean? Uplifter?
Was, instead of it being, "Oh great, it's about Donald Trump," it's sort of the Kristen Chenoweth end of things. Which moment for you in your career has been the mind blower in that way?
There have been a lot of really crazy moments. I've been doing drag for years, so I've had a lot of really crazy things happen. I put out a single Babadook a few years ago that went viral. That was when the Babadook was added to Netflix by accident in the LGBTQ section. And he kind of became this LGBTQ icon. My husband and I both had the idea to make a single called Baba Shook, and B. Ames, a DJ from Texas, and I wrote and performed it together, and basically produced the whole thing in a week, and then put it out, and it went viral, and that was crazy. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people as well. From people I admire like Shuga and Jinkx to not that long ago, maybe 3 months ago, a friend of mine who I work in New York City as well, and a friend of mine who was a manager at a bar I work at said to me, I'm friends with Cheetah Rivera. Do you want to go to her cabaret show and meet her? And I was like, yeah, I do. I really do. And so I had a show after, so I was in face, but just like boy clothes. And I got to go to her show at 54 Below and watch her perform all of her amazing songs, and then go and meet her. I have a really amazing photo with her, and she was just the sweetest person. She loves drag queens. Getting to do Wigstock, getting to do the impeachment. I've had a lot of really crazy things happen. It's hard to pick just one.
Well, I was going to say, when someone asks you a question like, do you want to meet Cheetah Rivera? I think of that Bette Midler line where she says, what kind of asshole question is that? It's like, of course I want to meet her.
It's actually funny that you said Cheetah Rivera, because I was doing a show at the Laurie Beachman, and I just happened to be leaving, and I didn't know that Cheetah Rivera was coming in to do a show or do something there. And when I was leaving, I literally ran into her. I didn't know who she was. And then I looked up and I was like, oh my, my mouth was wide open. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, the whole gushing, I'm a huge fan. I go, I'm so sorry, my name is Shuga Cain. She goes, of course you are, darling. And then turned around and just left me standing there with my mouth open. Like, what, girl? Of course you are, darling. Yes, bitch, girl. Cheetah Rivera, honey. That's
Shuga,
wild.
What was it like doing Xanadu, the musical, which is one of the most fun shows anyone could ever do? You played Sunny, right?
I did. That was such a long time ago. Oh my God, I was such a baby. It was amazing. Xanadu is so incredible. I mean, the music's fantastic. It is so cheesy. I mean, I was dancing in roller skates and hot pants. Like, what gay person in their right mind wouldn't want to do that? It was incredible. I had so much fun. Yeah, I forgot about that. If you see the photos that are some of my friends were sharing some of the photos lately, and I was dying because I look like I'm 12. I look like I should not be wearing hot pants.
Shuga.
What?
Did you know that Ginger and I were rehearsing Xanadu and we're supposed to do this tour?
Yes, I do know that. It is such a fun show.
Well, you know what? If you want to revive your role as Sunny, the last attempt at that production got nipped in the bud, but we're going to try again sometime, and we'll just call you. Okay.
Well, I'm down. Just let me know in advance so I can do some squats, girl.
And you've got to let me know too, because I assume you two were gonna do the Mary Testa, Jackie Hoffman roles.
Yeah.
That would be astoundingly fun to see. Oh my God.
Amazing to see.
We have it in our back pocket. We rehearsed it for a month and a half. We got all the numbers choreographed, at a moment's notice, we could get into those togas and do that fucking show for you.
It's amazing.
Pissi, I was reading one of the Q&As with you, and you're awfully young to name the people that you named as being influences. When I read, you talked about Mel Brooks, Carol Burnett, Nichols, and May, and those are my influences, and I'm considerably older than you are. How did it turn out that folks from that golden generation were influential for you?
I was really lucky. My dad, who I was talking about before, loved that kind of Borscht Belt style of comedy, and my mom was really into that, the Carol Burnett's and Ed Sullivan and all that stuff. So I grew up watching all of the Mel Brooks movies, and I grew up watching the Carol Burnett Show and Carol Burnett and Friends, which, by the way, is on Amazon Prime, and you should all go and watch it after this. I love that style of comedy, that old school kind of bump. It has a build up and a payoff style of comedy. And, performers like Bette Midler still have that. Bruce Valanche is still very much that style. Even people like Lady Bunny has that style of comedy that really has that build up and payoff. And that's people like Jackie Beat, who I love to death.
Amazing.
Isn't she just the fucking best?
Amazing. She's wonderful.
I never miss when Jackie comes to New York City because it's just, the shows are so smart and amazing. It's like I'll sit there with my mouth agape because I write parodies as well, but she'll, right after it happened, she wrote a parody of Stormy Weather called Stormy Daniels, and it's like it comes to her so fast, and I'm like, God, she's so fucking smart. She's one of the smartest comedians you'll ever meet, and that's what I love about her, is that it's so smart, but it's also kind of like dirty and what would be considered blue comedy, but it has this level of intelligence that takes it to, like, the rhymes are so good, the lines are so smart. You almost forget how smart it is because it's so dirty and raunchy. And that's the kind of comedy I love. I love that style.
And vice versa, you forget how dirty it is and how shocking it is because of how clever it is. I mean, have you heard her version of Toto's Africa?
Yes.
Oh, we're not going to even tell. If you're out there and you're watching and you've never seen it, you ask Jackie Beat what that song is about, okay? I'm not going to tell you. Jackie Beat is going to do, as of today, she said, I'd love to do Big Wigs Live. So we'll let you know when Jackie is going to be on our show.
Watch it. I remember her telling a story about that Toto song. She said it is to this day the only song where, like, she's sung it and people have gotten up and walked out.
And then any performer who says, wait, it gets worse in the middle of a song, you have to love. Now, Jinkx, I'm curious the same question too. I mean, you're very young to be someone who even knows what vaudeville is. So, I mean, why is that? And I know that the burlesque scene and stuff, neo-burlesque in the Pacific Northwest is very strong. How is it that someone as young as you, is influenced by the folks that you find fascinating?
I think partially because I had such a close relationship with my grandmother, so I learned a lot of the older references from her. And my aunt told me a lot about the references that were just a generation older than me. So like I was watching Beaches at like 5 years old, and I was obsessed with Bette Midler like before anyone else. And my grandma always, had me watch Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett and Madeline Kahn. But then I also think a big part of it is that it's the era of music that I enjoy the most. And as a performer, for drag queens, I think one of the big things about why we freak out over people like Charo and over, the divas we get to meet in our line of work is music is so very, very important to a drag queen. Like, everything starts and ends with like, what song are you going to do that night for your number in your drag show? And it dictates how you're going to dress, and it dictates your attitude for the whole evening. So I think because I was more connected to older music, it then led me to older references and older culture. And that's how I ended up this antiquated anachronism that I am now, which, has worked for me. I guess it speaks to, there's a niche community out there who really wants to relive the golden years they were never a part of, like young people obsessed with the 40s. But my favorite thing is that Alaska always says, everything about me is antiquated. And when I die, the news feed is going to read like Jinkx Monsoon found in her stagecoach. Detective suspected foul play,
This afternoon, I did an interview, and they asked me. I said that I was very much dedicated to the history of drag and very much the history of show business and how they intersect. And they said, do you think that most of the drag queens know their drag and showbiz history? And I said, the good ones, yes. And I think that the ones who are in it for a minute, maybe not, but the ones who really are dedicated to it, that plan to be talked about 10, 15 years from now, know whose shoulders they're standing on and how to, and that people will be standing on their shoulders if they're not already. So, you're inspired and inspiring, and it's best to know all that. Shuga Cain, who are your big inspirations?
It's wild because when I started, before I came out, like Rent was coming out, right? And like there was a Wigstock, they actually did the documentary. So for me, my reference for drag queens were all the girls that I get to see and talk to now, like Lady Bunny, Misunderstood. My first drag show was Sweetie in New York City. I did a
God
show with
rest her
her.
soul,
I
yes.
know, it was just like, so those were the references that I had growing up. For me, I was watching I Love Lucy. I was watching Mama's Family. All of that. I mean, it was like those are my favorite things to watch. I'm like, I don't ever claim that I'm a comedy queen, but like those are the things that I love to watch. And like when my favorite thing was Lady Bunny told me, she goes, "Girl, no one's coming to see you for your jokes." And I was like, "You fucking bitch." But like, it was really kind of amazing because then she was actually very nice to me after that. I come from an older generation. For me and for drag, like I think one of the things that is really important for when I started to drag and when I went on the show was representing my Latino culture, like bringing like Celia Cruz to the front, bringing Linda Ronstadt does these amazing ranchera. Did 2 albums that a lot of people don't know. And so like I've started singing rancheras, which is crazy to me to think, because when I was younger, I didn't want anything to do with my Latino roots. So like I look at drag in a different way because like, I think our Latino culture is very underrepresented. So like I make sure that when I'm out and I'm traveling, one of the songs that I'm performing has to do with, has to be in Spanish or has to like hit Celia Cruz or Gloria Estefan or Selena or something to bring, whether it's funny or just a mix of that, like bringing that culture to the forefront. A lot of it had to do with just like me being proud of like my culture. But as I started to do that, it became bigger than that. I realized how important it is for the Latino kids. It's really hard to be gay in the Latino culture. It was really hard for me to come out. And so to see the appreciation and the need for it within the community and how they respond to this representation, like that's so big for me. And so like, that has kind of turned into and been like the driving force for drag for me lately. So I'm looking at a lot of like the older songstresses within the Latino community, like Lola Beltran, and Chavela Vargas and those kind of things, and trying to bring those to the forefront. So, it's a little bit different, right? Like I'm still funny, I'm doing my own thing, but like that for me is kind of where what I've been trying to do within the drag community, and those are the divas that I've been looking at to kind of help me, shine that light on the Latinx community.
That's fantastic. I'm trying to remember the diva who she would wear a rubber dress, and I can't think of her name now. Not Celia Cruz, but kind of the same era.
Oh, I'm blanking on her. She's crazy. She's from the I can't remember. I know exactly who you're talking about. I have to come back because
they would powder her up and put her in rubber, and then she'd go on and do her thing. I think I saw her perform a cabaret act or something. But see, it pays to be an old fart. Oh, Shuga, I have to tell you, when you were saying before, I'm older, I'm in my 40s. I was like, or as I refer to it, you're young, you're in your 40s. So it's all a matter of perspective, definitely.
This is producer Chad. Was it Astrid Haddad? I just did a little Googling. Is that the name?
Say it again?
Astrid Haddad?
No, it
okay.
sounds something like it. We'll get it.
Yeah.
So, but, or I'll text you later and we'll share pictures of a crazed Latin woman in a rubber dress. Who doesn't want to get one of those? All right, so I want to ask you a question that someone wrote in. We want to ask each of you since we're running out of time here. Gail wrote in and asked if each of you, if you could perform only one number, one more time, what would the number be and what would you wear?
Ooh.
I think I would sing the song "They Just Keep Moving the Line" from Smash. Now, I haven't seen Smash and I don't know anything about Smash, but I love that song and I really relate to it. And I don't know, something black. I'd wear something black and I'd sing that song, and the song's all about like just when you think you've made it, they move the line and now there's a new standard you have. And I think what a perfect song to sing and then never perform again.
Shuga, what about you?
You know, if it's the last song I'm ever gonna perform, yes. If I only had to perform one song, I would love to. Okay, I would love to perform an actual like live ranchera song with like a full mariachi behind me. I would be in like a full traje with like all the big sombrero and everything and all the fucking rhinestones, and I would probably sing song that Linda Ronstadt sings in, I think it's Más Canciones, it's called El Toro Relajo. It is like the most fun. It's like loud. She's just like, like she's like screaming and going crazy. Granted, I can sing better than that, but I would want to do that. I would definitely want to sing that. I think that would be fun.
Pissi, one more number to do. What's your last number and what are you going to wear?
I'm torn. I'm having a hard time picking. I would wear probably this dress. I love this red velour stretch velour. You're welcome. That's what I'm wearing. Trust me, it's beautiful. You can't see it, but it's wonderful. I would either sing "Over the Rainbow," which is one of my very favorite songs in the entire world, or I would sing a parody that I wrote of my other favorite Judy song, and the parody is called "Zing Went the Streams of My Shart." So
Tasteful. I don't know if it's quite as tasteful as "Everyone's Coming on Pissi," which I know is another of your songs.
I actually
but it sounds lovely.
sing that on Cameo for someone for their mother for Mother's Day, which I think
I think that the idea that you can sing "Everyone's Coming on Pissi" or "Zing Went the Something of My Shart," but also get to do a TED Talk is kind of amazing. I think that's very well rounded. I'm impressed.
I was shocked that they asked me. I was like, "You've seen my repertoire, right?" And then they were like, "Yeah, we have." And I was like, "All right, here we go. As long as you know what you're getting into."
Hey, as Lady Bunny said to me once, she said, when I perform, and it's an outdoor thing, I say, "You do know I'm a skank." That's what she said. So I was like, I think that's a fair thing to tell people if you're going. And then they book her anyway, and I think that's great. So I want to, since we're running out of time, two things. First, I want to tell folks, if you haven't yet sent in, and if you can, obviously, if you can, we appreciate it. If you can send a virtual cover, we suggest $10, but you can do whatever you want. It'll be split amongst the girls and the crew, and it'll keep Big Wigs Live going. And we would love it if you would. And you can Venmo it to Big Wigs Live. And we would love that. So thank you. Keep us all, solvent and doing our, little grocery money and doing our show and trying to hang in there and do our thing and let us keep bringing you the drag joy that we're able to do each week on Big Wigs Live. And I want to thank, obviously, all the folks who've done our show up to this point, but particularly tonight's guests. And I want to ask each of them what they're up to and where we should look for them. Pissi Myles, what should we look for from you, my dear?
Well, we've got a lot of fun stuff in the works right now. I'm actually I'm still producing my podcast with my sister Sam. It's called My Spooky Gay Family, and it is all about all of my my gay family members and our love of horror and the supernatural. And you can find that wherever you stream your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that fun stuff. I am also in the middle of producing a really fun digital project that we haven't announced yet. But if you follow me on any social media, we'll be announcing it soon. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pornhub, wherever you look. I promise I will be there.
Shuga, what about you? Where can we find you these days? What's coming up?
Yeah, so I am still doing my Sugar in the Raw reviews on YouTube of I review the season 12 recap. I do that. I've done I used to do this series called You've Been Read on YouTube, which is I read tarot for the kids, but now I'm doing that privately. So you can actually go to my website at sugsweetshop.com and purchase your own private tarot card reading from me. There's a couple options there, and I'm working on some music right now, so that's kind of like in the going in the can, and so I'm kind of doing that, so look out for that. I'll be announcing all that coming up soon, hopefully once this corona done lifted. So but yeah,
Fantastic. And Jinkx, what about you?
I've got a handful of more shows at stageit.com with the Digital Drag Fest. Produced by Producer Entertainment Management. And I'm also releasing episodes of this radio show called WQUR with Peaches Christ and Ben de la Creme and Major Scales. So we've got a Patreon for that. It's WQUR. You can go check out on our Instagram. We are posting about it constantly. We've got episode 1 out now, and it's completely free to listen to. And it's about a half-hour long radio show a la the 1940s, you know, staying very on brand. And yeah, it's all written, produced, and performed by the 4 of us with our friend Heather. Her fucking email is Heather Dammit, so now I can't remember her last name. I just think of her as Heather Dammit. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun listen. And yeah, and I also try to do, you know, free performances on Instagram Live whenever I'm in drag, you know, and I don't want to waste it. I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that, you know, like some people are completely out of work right now, and you know, they don't have the extra money to get tickets to these online shows. And so I try to keep my shows that are the ticketed shows, you know, very unique experiences to that. And then I go to my Instagram Live and do kind of more karaoke and take requests and stuff, so that I'm covering all my audience bases.
Is anybody Instagramming live tonight after this if they want to go to a post party? Anybody planning to do that?
I
Fantastic.
might. I don't want to commit to it, but I might.
That's
As the B-52 say, maybe I'll see you there if I can do my hair. So just go do that. And I want to tell people, follow me at Frank DeCaro Show on social media, always putting fun things up. If you were following me today, you know that your drag moment of the day was Shuga Cain as Charo, was today's drag moment of the day on all social media platforms.
Thank you.
So I was very happy to do that. And once again, I want to say, if you can, Venmo a virtual cover to Big Wigs Live, and keep everyone doing their thing. Big Wigs Live, there you go. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Chad always knows who's coming up.
Yes, our guests next week, we're still waiting to confirm our third, but we have Jiggly Caliente, and we have Sonique, and we're working on one other person, and it's going to be a wonderful all-trans drag performer panel, so we're excited to have that. It's going to be fun, so make sure to tune in. You can follow along at Flip Phone Events on the Instagram. We just broke 100,000 on TikTok, so if you're a TikTok person, watch our TikTok. I don't really know what I'm doing on there, just posting things. But Flip Phone Events, you are amazing. Thank you for everybody. And we also have so many events. We're doing like 5 digital events a week on Flip Phone, that we have a children's dance party and drag story hour with Marty Cummings tomorrow. Friday, we have a Robin dance party with Detox. Saturday, we have a Queen drag brunch. And then Saturday night, we have a Britney versus Christina dance party too. So we're just busy, creating fun.
And I have a banana bread in the oven. So there you have it. So thank you to Chad, our producer. Thank you to Pissi Myles, Shuga Cain, Jinkx Monsoon. Thank you for being with us. And to all of the people out there watching Facebook Live, twitch.tv, and here on Zoom. Thank you so much for sharing an hour or so with us every week on Wednesday nights. Please tell your friends. Please Venmo a little tippy if you can. And we love you to pieces. And we will see you next week with an amazing group.